So, in today's Cheeky Finance, just as usual, I want to do a brief technical analysis on Bitcoin. In my past video, I told you that we were at a point that if we were to break up, we would be testing the previous high at 4.2k, but if we were gonna break down, we could actually retest the yearly low. In this video, I also want to talk a little bit about Tron. As you've seen, it has had a stupendous run to the upside, and this is partly because it has partnered up with BitTorrent. So I would like to talk a little bit about this. Finally, I can't believe that I'm gonna be talking again about this, but I want to talk a little bit about BitMex, about its practices, and why you should be very careful when trading in this platform. So if you're curious about this, just chill and keep watching. Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, and this is your host, the Cheeky Entrepreneur. So I just want to start this technical analysis by going to the daily chart. If you remember, as I mentioned last week, we were at this level, and I was actually pointing out that there could be two possibilities. Either we have enough momentum to actually retest this 4.2k level around here, or if we were gonna fail that rally up, we would actually go down, possibly to test the 3.2k level. So that's kind of like the bearish target that is still present as of right now. So in the last video, I mentioned a lot about trading with channels, and I actually mentioned this particular ascending channel over here. And I mentioned that whenever you're trading channels, you can trade in two ways. You can actually trade the upside to the channel, and you could have shorted around here and waiting for a confirmation whether it breaks down or not. But in any case, what we saw during the past week is that the price actually went down, and we had a huge dump around here. And I just want to highlight some of the indicators that really told us the story before it happened. So first of all, as usual, I've told you about the importance of these EMAs, and here I have the 50 exponential moving average. And as we see over here, we actually tested this level and actually bounced right off. And this is very important because we know that if we have such a tremendous bounce, chances are that we actually can go down. So basically that was not the only indicator. As you've seen, we are in a tentative descending triangle here. We have not been able to create a higher high for the past couple months, or for the past year even. And this line now, it's something similar to what could become a potentially descending triangle. So now I don't want to say that this is gonna be descending triangle, because in reality, until it breaks to the downside, we can know. But we have to take into consideration that we are still in a bear trend, so we are very likely to go to the downside a little bit more, or at least test this yearly low. So the third reason why I thought that this was actually gonna break down is because of the stochastics. And if you know, the daily stochastics really give you a good indicator of whether you can find momentum to the downside or to the upside. And of course, the bigger the time frame, the more reliability you're gonna find in these indicators. I actually wanted to take a short around here, but I couldn't, because if you have used, for instance, BitMex to short, you'll find out that whenever there's a huge move, you're not gonna be able to make market orders, and the reason is because the page becomes so saturated, and then there's such a lack of liquidity that if you try to actually go in and attempt multiple times, instead of, for instance, get a good price, you're gonna get the worst price at all. So I decided to just not trade this one after I lost the entry point. But in any case, I'm gonna show you what happened in the lower time frames. So one of the indicators, again, that I've told you about is these tentative channels, and in my last Cheeky trading video, I taught you really how I do these channels. And again, it's speculation, it's a little bit tentative at the beginning, and you have to wait to see how they develop. But in any case, here in the 4-hourly chart, I actually drew these red lines that were initially a channel, but then they started behaving like if they were kind of like a descending wedge. So we have the price actually bounce up, going back down. We saw it actually tested this level. I thought it would actually test somewhere around here, but it didn't, and that's why I did change the line for a wedge right now. But we also saw a bounce from this level. And in here in green you see that I drew another tentative channel that could be to the upside, and the reason was because actually this broke up from here. So we're in a very difficult scenario right here, because there's a lot of consolidation, and I think this is definitely a no trade zone right now. And the reason is because we have so much pressure from the downside and somewhat a lot of pressure from the upside. So we really have to wait and see for some confirmation before actually starting trading again. But in any case, something that I said on my Discord channel is that we were having a lot of momentum to the downside, and we have not seen actually a bar up. That was before this happening around here. And actually I was predicting that the price was gonna have some sort of relief, so I started longing around here, and I did another long around here waiting for that price movement, which we actually got around here. We actually retested the 3.7k level, which it seems that it's gaining more and more importance as we see right now. So I actually exited that long with a decent profit, and now I'm in no trade at all because I am waiting for confirmation, since I think because of this ascending channel we could either go up and actually test the 3.8k ish area, or we could actually break down and following this red channel that I mark. And actually if we were to go down from this point and go back into this wedge, I would expect going around the 3.4k to 3.3k level. Finally, I just want to mention one of the reasons I did stick with that long, and why I thought it was a good idea to long at these levels. And the reason is, again, one of the most important indicators that I've told you about so far is the bearish and the bullish divergences. So for instance, we had a huge divergence in here. If we look at the RSI, we actually see that we actually had a higher low around here, but if we look at the price, we of course had a lower low, so there was a divergence around there. So actually, instead of exiting my position around here, I actually doubled up when the price came down here, and I just waited out, and we saw that we had this bar pattern, and that's one of the reasons why I grabbed these lows around here and this high to create this tentative channel. And we right now only have to wait and see confirmation, because it is possible for the price to actually break in, go back down as I mentioned, or we could actually retest this channel and move back up. So just to continue with this video, I wanted to talk about Tron, and the reason is because we have seen that it has had a tremendous run to the upside, and if we actually calculated more or less what you could have obtained if you would have long all the way this, we see it's about 180%. Maybe you got in. If you did, congratulations, because that could have been a good trade. Now, going through the technical analysis and going through the fundamentals, one of the reasons that this went up as tremendously is because of this news. It says BitTorrent launches native Tron-based token, and if you know, BitTorrent, it's a peer-to-peer platform to share videos and to share different kinds of stuff, and this is basically the reason that it went up. And I don't want to really get too deep into these fundamentals, and the reason is because actually something came out from an ex-employee of Tron saying that this was kind of like a facade, that they were lies, and that Tron was not actually gonna be able to sustain all the BitTorrent system. So I don't really want to go into that because there's a lot of uncertainty. But one of the things that I mentioned is that this was actually overbought, and I think a lot of people actually thought that. And I pointed out, if you were following me on Instagram, I actually pointed out on there that there was a bearish divergence going over here and that the price was actually gonna retrace, and I did place a short around this level where we find a resistance here from a previous high around here, and I took a short and I did take profits before. And this is something that I'm gonna mention about before I end the video, but here one of my targets were actually the 50% retracement around here, and if you were in BitMex, that price actually was touched. Now here is why I want to talk about BitMex, as I mentioned in the video. So here I have BitMex open around here, and first of all, if you're gonna be trading in BitMex, you really need to take into consideration that this exchange really doesn't have a lot of liquidity, and they say that they have a lot of volume, but we all know that most of it is wash trading. It's just selling and then buying at a certain particular moment in time, so they're creating fake volume, and this is well recognized. And even if we notice here around here, it's very difficult to trade in BitMex sometimes, because if you put stop losses, and I mentioned this before, that these liquidation bots are just gonna try to get you. And we can see this around here. If you see all these weeks, that actually happened in the price, but it's just ridiculous the extent to which they can get here in BitMex. And again, that's because of the lack of liquidity. And one of the problems is that even if you try to put market orders or just put limit orders when all this action is happening, the system is gonna get overloaded and you won't be able to actually take any type of trade. And this is what I mentioned around here in the Bitcoin chart, is that I actually wanted to take a short around here. I saw that the price action was moving. I tried to get in, I couldn't. The system was overloaded. I couldn't put limit orders, I couldn't do market orders, and just few seconds from where I wanted to put the order, the price was already around here. So I decided just not to pursue that, because chances are that if I did something wrong, the price would actually go back up, and you never know with these liquidation bots. But in any case, here's the thing that I really want to talk about this, and this is one of the reasons, again, that I'm not gonna be putting an affiliate link for this anymore, unless I really know that you understand the risks that are really involved in using this exchange. And here I'm actually gonna put this full screen just to really see what happened here with the price. So for instance, this is the Tron price, and again, as I mentioned, I did short it around here in this point, but I really want you to see the difference in between what you could actually get from the real price and what you were getting here in BitMex. And a lot of people have told me, hey, you know, this is a future contract, the price has not doesn't have to be the same, and I do agree. We know that future contracts will always differ from the actual spot price. That's something very common. So the reason that these future contracts were created is not due to pure speculation. Actually, it goes back before to where they were selling rice in Japan. So for instance, if you were a farmer, you would have actually to sell your rice to a warehouse. But this warehouse would not be selling all the entirety of its rice to the people out there as a short period of time. Sometimes it would take months, and as you know, the price of rice would actually fluctuate over this time. So this is the reason that these future contracts were created, because it allowed actually to this warehouse to hedge the price of the rice. And now this is almost the same in case of Bitcoin, in case of any other financial market. And the reason is that you want to be exposed to this price action and this price movement. And this is very important because maybe you are selling something, maybe you're an industry that are selling, I don't know, auto parts, and you're selling to another country, so you have to hedge the currency, or you have to hedge certain types of assets. And because of this, you really need to be exposed to the price action. So a lot of people have told me, hey, you know, this different price in BitMex is because, you know, they're future contracts. Yes, I do agree, but however, the price action needs to be quite similar. And for instance, if we go to other products here, we have the Bitcoin contracts, for instance. Here we have the one in March, and of course the price is gonna be different. It's actually around $100 different. If we actually take a look at them, actually the price from this marking price and the actual price, yes, it has a spread, but the spread is actually constant. So for instance, if you were to take a short around here to the bottom, you see it's around 10%, and if you would have taken around here, it would have been around 11%, 10% as well. So the spread is the same, so you get exposure to the real movement of the price. But hey, now what's happening here, and why I'm really talking about BitMex right now, is because if you take a look, and here let's just grab a price from the very top all the way to this bottom around here. So if we measure that up in the real price, in the market value, we see that you would have obtained, like, let's say 25%. 25% is a lot, but if we go to the actual price by BitMex, it's around 17%. You're missing 8%, and in some cases it takes around 50% of the price movement. So you're not really exposed to the price. Here is because they say, like, if you don't have Tron, if you don't want to buy Tron, you can be exposed to that market with BitMex, and that is false, because you are not exposed to the price. You are exposed to merely 50% of the price movement, and this just makes this future contract just useless, because if you want to buy, let's say, Tron, and you would actually expect it to go down, but you don't want to sell, and you would like to short it here so that you can hedge it, you wouldn't be able to, because if this goes down, you wouldn't obtain the same amount of Bitcoin that you would have received or you would have saved if you would have actually sold that Tron. I'm just gonna say that this is really bad. I'm not quite sure if this is 100% manipulation. It does seem a bit like that's the case, but I'm just gonna say that this could completely ruin your strategy, because if you suddenly are in a trade which you think is gonna have a 2-by-1 win ratio, where you're risking one part and you're winning two, with this 50%, you would actually be reducing that to a ratio of 1-to-1. So that could dramatically change everything. So this, I think I'm just gonna end the rant right now here over BitMex, and again, that's one of the reasons that I'm not gonna just give these affiliate links just like other people do, because in reality this is not only not fair, but this is completely wrong. And again, I could understand a lot of the reasons that you could say, yeah, this is what the people think and this is the actual price, but again, this is not a very liquid market. Manipulation in this scenario is very easy, as we've seen even in Bitcoin. Sometimes you get these liquidation bots, sometimes you get these huge spoof walls that won't let you even take limit orders. And I'm just here to warn you, if you want to actually trade on BitMex, yeah, be my guest, but understand the real possible repercussions of this exchange. Anyways guys, if you enjoyed the video, and only if you did, subscribe to the channel and also push that like button. You know that I'm active in other social media. I got an Instagram account where I put all the highlights of my video, as well as some news on the financial markets. By now you should know that I also have a Discord channel where I put all my trade setups during the week, and it's totally free, so you should definitely check that out. But in any case guys, just before I go, just as usual, I would like to remind you all, stay smart, stay bold, but most important of all, stay cheeky. Take care guys.